morning, good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to be diving into something every team wants more of, but rarely get enough of, which is time. Over the last kind of decade, the demands on marketing and creative teams haven't slowed down. More formats, more channels, more stakeholders, and bigger expectations to deliver. But the number of hours in the week hasn't really changed, and that gap between what's expected and what's actually possible is wider than ever. And that's why the 2026 Damn Trends Report is so important this year. It reveals kind of how much modern organizations are reclaiming by rethinking the way content is created, managed, and approved. We uncovered workflows where 11 to as much as 40 hours a week were being returned to teams, not by working harder, but by working smarter. And today we're going to break down the systems and strategies behind those gains, from automation to AI to integrated tools to eliminating the operational clutter that slows down work. So let's look at what the most efficient teams are doing differently and how your organization can start winning time back too. Before we dive in, just a small bit of housekeeping. So this session will be recorded. I'm going to send it out at some stage today or tomorrow. Hopefully, I have a little bit of time at the end for some questions. So anything that kind of comes to mind, pop it in. I'll see if I can get back to you. If it's anything I can't answer, I'll follow up. I'll check in with our product team, and I'll get back to you. So. Before we dive into the findings of the report, I just wanted to kind of quickly walk you through what we'll be covering today. First up, we're going to look at how rapidly growing content demands are putting new pressure on marketing, creative, and brand teams. This year's report shows that workloads aren't just increasing, they're accelerating faster than teams can keep up. Next, we're going to unpack the report reveals about the current state of content operations. We'll highlight where teams are losing time, where they're gaining it back, and which operational gaps are appearing across industries. From there, we're going to dig into the real numbers behind time savings. You'll see exactly how much time organizations are reclaiming across brand management, approval cycles, and video workflows, often saving entire workdays each week just by optimizing how content moves through their organization. And we're also going to break down what the most efficient teams are doing differently. These are the teams evolving faster than the market, leveraging AI, automating manual steps, and simplifying collaboration at scale. And then finally, we'll explore how a modern DAM strategy kind of reshapes team capacity. This year's report makes it clear that DAM isn't just about storing assets, it's becoming the central engine that drives faster execution, better alignment, and more scalable operations. So I'm hoping by the end of this session, you'll have a clear picture on where your team stands and where the biggest opportunities are to reclaim time and operate more efficiently. So, the state of content and workflows. One of the biggest themes in this year's Damn Trends report, the content explosion. The challenge organizations are facing today isn't just the sheer volume of content they're producing, it's the operational complexity that comes with it. Teams are juggling more stakeholders, more review cycles, more channels, and more versions than ever before. And as that complexity increases, the cracks in the workflow get wider. Files get buried, work gets duplicated, teams lose time searching, and brand consistency starts to slip. What we're hearing across industries is that it's not simply the teams are producing more, it's that they're producing a wider variety of content. You got multi-format campaigns, you got multi-language variants, you got channel-specific crops and exports, and then perhaps the biggest spike of all, the growing demand of video. And when we look at the data, we can see that shift really clearly. Organizations are storing significantly more content across every format inside their DAM. Brand assets are up 88%. Videos, one of the most time-consuming formats to produce and manage, that as we all know, they're up 83%. Event footage is up 60%. Design files, product collateral, partner enablement materials, everything is trending upward at the same time. And this tells us two things. First, teams are being asked to support more channels, more campaigns, and more audiences simultaneously. Second, as organizations diversify their content output, they're becoming increasingly dependent on systems that can scale with them. But here's the tension. While content formats and volumes are growing at an unprecedented rate, team capacity is just not. Creative brand and marketing teams are feeling the strain. They're spending more time finding, reworking, and then recreating assets. And it's not because the work is harder, but because the ecosystem around that work has become more complex. So this content explosion, it's not just a volume problem. It's a workflow problem. It's a visibility problem. It's a how do we stay aligned across channels, teams, regions, and formats problem. Now, the content's explosion is only half the story. The other half, and arguably the most important or impactful part, is the strain it's putting on workflows. As teams expand their content output, they're also navigating a much more fragmented operational environment. Siloed systems, distributed teams, remote contributors, agencies, partners, everything is more spread out than it used to be. And that's creating friction at every stage of the content lifecycle. In this year's downtrends report, teams consistently reported some major challenges. The first being maintaining brand consistency at scale. With more versions, more variants, and more channels, it's becoming harder to ensure that the right assets are being used everywhere, every time. Small inconsistencies start to snowball into bigger brand risks. Next, we're seeing approval bottlenecks becoming a universal pain point. As more stakeholders touch content, review cycles get longer, not shorter. People are chasing feedback across email. You have Slack, Teams, PDFs, cloud drives, you name it. And the result is slowdowns that just ripple across campaigns. We're also seeing multi-team processes that still rely heavily on manual handoffs. Creative teams pass files to marketing, who pass them to brand, who send them to the regional teams. And just every handoff becomes another opportunity for a delay or a miscommunication. Teams are they're relying on like a patchwork of tools instead of that one connected workflow. And then on top of that, stakeholders are now spread across more systems than ever before. You have your design tools, you have your storage drives, project management platforms, messaging apps. The more scattered the ecosystem becomes, the harder it is to maintain that single source of truth. And then finally, there is a growing challenge around content reuse. Teams want to repurpose existing assets more often, but they can't find them, or they don't know which version is final. They end up recreating work. And then just to put this into a little bit of perspective, I wanted to share a quick instance I got from one of my CSMs from a higher ed organization we recently signed to Media Valley. I just wanted to kind of get some examples to back up the data, but their marketing team supports dozens of departments like admissions, athletics, alumni relations, fundraising. And each of those groups had their own systems, their own shared drives, and their own way of storing and requesting content. Over time, the team found themselves dealing with constant workflow strain. Brand consistency had become a moving target. Departments were pulling old logos from outdated folders. Students were using unapproved imagery and event posters. And every single campaign required a round of asset cleanup before it even started. Approvals were another major bottleneck. A simple social campaign might involve 4 or 5 rounds of feedback across emails, Teams, and PDFs. Designers were spending more time trying to track down which version was the correct one than actually producing the work. And because nothing was centralized, content reuse was almost non-existent. The team would shoot new photos of campus life for the third time that semester, and not because they wanted to do it, but because no one could find the existing footage. All of this compounded into slower turnaround times and heavier workloads. And a marketing team that spends more energy on managing chaos than executing strategy, it's a common story that we're seeing across higher ed and a range of different industries, and exactly the kind of workflow strain modern DAM is designed to solve. So, how are teams gaining back their time? We've been talking about the operational strain behind content today, but there is a flip side, and that means there are teams out there that are winning the battle. Some are saving 40 hours every single week on asset-related tasks alone, and that's not just a marginal gain. That's an extra full-time week to put back into strategy, creativity, and growth. So what do these teams have in common? The secret isn't that they're working harder, it's that they built a smarter system. And at the center of these systems is a digital asset management platform. DAM acts like the engine that drives every step of the content lifecycle. And organizations leading the way are sharing four key traits. And then, first of all, it's centralized assets. Everyone knows exactly where assets live. No more digging through old folders or tapping teammates for the latest version. Secondly, AI-enabled search and metadata. So teams no longer waste time manually tagging files or scrolling through hundreds of versions. AI helps surface the right asset instantly, whether you remember the file name or not. That means faster creation, quicker reuse, and less frustration. Thirdly, integrated workflows. So DAM isn't a standalone silo. It's connected directly into all your major key tools. You've got creative production, content review, you've got distribution. Assets flow seamlessly from creation to approvals to publishing without all the downloading, the re-uploading, or email chasing that typically slows teams down. And then fourth and finally, automated governance. So brand reviews, version control, usage rights, they're all automated in the background. Efficient teams enforce standards without adding extra work on marketing. Compliance becomes proactive instead of reactive. And when you put this all together, you get a major shift. Less time managing content, more time leveraging it. This is the difference between teams who feel underwater every day and those hitting deadlines, scaling brands globally, and then unlocking measurable ROI on their content investments. So when we look at the organization saving that 40 plus hours a week, it's not magic, it's not luck. It's a damn, it's at the center of how they work. And then the big buzzword of 2025, AI. So when we think of AI today, there is a lot of conversation about replacement, but the Down Trends report kind of shows something very different happening inside high performing teams. AI isn't taking creative work away, it's given more time back. In the areas where teams are losing the most hours in video management, in your metadata creation, routing assets between people and systems, AI becomes the true time multiplier. It handles the busy work, automatically tagging assets, identifying who or what's in a video, and even sending the right files into the right approval flow without someone having to click through three different tools. And what's the outcome of all this? Creative teams stay focused on the work that actually requires creativity. No more manually adding keywords. No more hunting down the right version. No more re-uploading files every time feedback changes. AI is quietly accelerating every step of the content journey. And the teams that are leaning into these capabilities are already seeing huge productivity gains. And this is where efficiency really starts to scale. So, dreaded brand. So, brand initiatives are some of the most important and most time-consuming activities within a marketing organization. There's rarely a single window. There's a constant loop of finding assets, requesting approvals, pushing updates across channels, and then making sure everyone is aligned on what on brand really means. And as content volume increases, that complexity only grows. Brand teams become the bottleneck. Designers spend hours resending files, fielding requests, and policying brand usage. This is where DAM fundamentally changes the picture. For the organizations using DAM today, we're seeing an average of 11 hours a week saved on brand related tasks alone, just by ensuring the right people have the right approved assets at their fingertips. But when teams go a step further and they layer in templating and experience portals, those results take a major leap. Suddenly, departments outside of brand can self-serve their own collateral confidently and independently. They can customize content without controlled guardrails, and they can access brand kits, campaign materials, and visuals without waiting on anyone. And what is the result of this? We found that up to 18 hours a week have been saved on branding initiatives. That's nearly half a work week given back to creative teams. And then this time can be reinvested into other higher value brand building, not just admin work. So, how did DAM and templating deliver those efficiencies? So you have on-brand templates, which ensure every output is instantly compliant. You have controlled access, determines who can edit, download, or publish. You have approved visuals that eliminate the guesswork on what is current and up to date. And then fewer requests come into the brand team's inbox, freeing them from being basically a service desk. It creates a scalable model where everyone can contribute to the brand without risking it. So it's not just faster design, but it's a stronger, more consistent brand at pretty much every touch point. And if there's one part of the content life cycle that I feel every team agrees is painful, and we've struggled with it in our own team, and that's approvals. They take too long, they involve too many people, the process is too fragmented. It's rarely the review itself that causes the slowdown. It's kind of everything around it. And here is where we found the major benefits. So 53% of those who took part in the Dan Friends report found improvements in version control. So teams finally stopped guessing which version is the correct one. Every edit, comment, and approval is tracked in just one single place. No more recreating work because the wrong file size was reviewed. So 61% of them found faster team collaboration. Stakeholders review assets where they live, not through scattered emails. Approvals move forward even when teams are remote or global. And then automated notifications keep everyone in sync and on schedule. 59% reduced duplication of work. Teams don't waste time rebuilding assets that already exist. Search and asset reuse become the default, not the exception. And then just clear ownership and transparency stops multiple versions from being created simultaneously. The report also highlights a major shift happening for the teams who are modernizing this layer. So when approvals are integrated directly into DAM with project management, they eliminated entire rounds from the workflow. So we're seeing almost 15 hours a week recaptured in teams that streamline their process, not because they're working faster, but because they're wasting less time. Those gains come from four key capabilities. So centralized project management and DAM, version control, annotated, trackable reviews, and then automated reminders and notifications. When these pieces click together, bottlenecks disappear, and instead of stopping the flow of work, approvals simply become another step in the workflow, not the step that brings everything to a halt. These teams also reported a 28% increase in time to market. So this means campaigns launch sooner, momentum isn't lost, and results are realized faster. It's kind of like a perfect example of how better operations don't save hours, they just accelerate impact. One of the most interesting shifts that we saw in this year's report is how rapidly video is becoming a core part of DAM usage. In fact, there's been a 15% jump in the number of teams storing and managing video just inside their DAM compared to 2024 alone. And when you look at the results, it makes a lot of sense. 72% of teams say DAM has dramatically improved their ability to find and share clips across departments. Instead of digging through drives or messaging colleagues for a file, they get instant access to the footage they need, raw or unfinished, right where they need it. And then 88% report faster repurposing of existing video content. When centralizing libraries, searchable transcripts, AI generated metadata, and built-in review tools, video isn't something that gets created once and it's forgotten. It becomes an asset that can be reused again and again. I just wanted to give you another little quick example. This time it's a manufacturing. Um, so manufacturers constantly producing product demo videos, installation guides, safety clips, footage for trade shows. But historically, that content generally gets buried in shared drives or lives only with the video team. Once they move those assets into the dam, game changer. The sales organization can instantly grab the right product clip for a customer presentation without waiting days for someone in marketing to get back to them. Field technicians can access installation videos directly from a secure portal, all while on site. And global distributors reuse existing footage to localize campaigns instead of creating everything from scratch. What used to take weeks of back and forth now becomes a matter of minutes. The output doesn't just scale, it becomes consistent, compliant, and far more efficient. And then we get to building a modern DAM strategy. When we look at the organizations operating at the peak efficiency, it's not just because they have more people or bigger budgets, it's because they build systems that make great work inevitable. And across every high performing team that we surveyed, there were four core pillars that kind of constantly showed up. First, centralization. One secure home for every asset, every version, every stakeholder. No duplications, no digging. Everyone works from the same source of truth. Second, automation. The manual steps that slow teams down, routing, tagging, approval sharing, all handled in the background. Efficiency stops being dependent on human availability. Third, we have integration. DAM doesn't sit on an island. It connects into project management, to creative tools, distribution systems. So content moves seamlessly from creation to delivery, and then you don't have to do all the switching and re-uploading. And then finally, the favorite one is an AI enablement. AI enhances the human workflow, unlocking faster search, smarter reuse, and automation at scale. It's not replacing creativity, but it just multiplies the time teams spend on it. And when these four elements work together, teams don't just improve their content operations, they transform them. That's what separates organizations that are constantly scrambling from the ones that are consistently ahead. So we have covered how teams are saving massive amounts of time through better systems and smarter workflows. But the real unlock happens when DAM isn't treated as just a marketing tool, when it becomes a shared operational engine that supports multiple functions across the organization. Let's start with brand there in the middle. So this is where DAM historically lives. One place to manage logos, photos, campaign materials, but as brand output scales, DAM becomes the system that protects brand equity. It ensures that the right assets are used, that old versions disappear, and that teams can confidently self-serve without risking quality or compliance. Next, we have creative. Designers and content producers spend far too much time on admin, hunting for assets, resending files, exporting, compressing, uploading. When DAM integrates with their tools of choice, like Adobe, Canva, templating systems, it streamlines creation and eliminates unnecessary steps. Then we have video, one of the fastest growing asset types inside DAM today. Video teams gain instant searchability through AI. faster reviews through integrated proofing, and better reuse because footage is no longer hidden on someone's external hard drive. Now, look at sales enablement. Sales teams need current content and that they need it fast. Instead of emailing marketing for collateral, they can pull the latest product one sheets, demo videos, or customer stories directly from a damn powered portal. They spend more time selling and less time waiting, and customers get better and more consistent experiences. And then finally, we have project management. This is where work gets stuck today. Approvals, deadlines, file handoffs. When DAM connects into the project management system, content flows, rounds get shorter, stakeholders stay aligned. So when you look at this visual, what's at the center of it? And it's DAM. And this is the shift that the most efficient organizations have made. Instead of every team creating their own content ecosystem, they share one that powers everyone. It drives faster delivery, stronger brand consistency, and smarter use of every asset that you create. Because when Dan connects the dots across the entire business, you stop managing content and you start maximizing its impact. So we've talked a lot today about Dan becoming the operational engine behind content, and integrations are a massive, massive part of that story because a DAM delivers its greatest value when it's connected directly to the systems that your team use every day. On the website, CMS integrations ensure that the moment a new asset is approved, it's ready to publish. No downloading, renaming, or re-uploading required. With CRM integrations, sales teams automatically get access to the right collateral right inside tools they use to engage customers. Inside the workflow, project management systems, you have like Rike, you have Asana, they keep the content moving, linking the brief, the task, and the latest version of the asset in one clean flow. For production teams, video editing software ties directly into DAM. No more hunting through drives to find footage, and reviews happen right where the content is created. And then there are broader ecosystem tools, content hubs, PIM systems that keep product information synced and publishing platforms that allow assets to be scheduled and shared instantly across channels. So the big takeaway from all of this, instead of every system storing its own version of truth, the DAM becomes the single source of powering them all. Content moves faster, teams stay aligned, and your investment in every piece of content grows. Okay, well, I want to thank everyone who's stuck with me right till the end. I will open the floor up to any questions you have, and I'll see if I can answer them. Let me take a quick look at the chat or the Q&A. Um, okay, we have one here from James. So I know you mentioned that AI is helping teams. So what are the main Media Valley AI functions? Okay. Um, Off the top of my head, I know for a fact that our AI automatically analyzes kind of every asset that's kind of images, videos, documents, and it generates rich metadata from day one. So it identifies objects, kind of scenes, colors, and it even reads text inside images and PDFs. So for organizations working with a lot of people, say, we have face recognition that instantly surfaces every asset featuring a specific example. So you can tag Jane from product and then she will pop up in every asset. And then if you need to send that out to teams, yeah, it's easy. On the video and audio side, Media Valley goes even deeper. So we have full transcription, we have scene and topic detection, we have timestamp metadata. So it makes long form content fully searchable. And with natural language search, users can simply describe what they're looking for, like say a winter skyline at sunset, and the system is going to find it instantly for you. This means, I guess, overall less tagging, way faster discovery, and then you just get a lot more value from your digital assets. Um, I hope that answers that. Let's see if we have anything else. Okay, we've got one more here. Based on everything you've seen in the report, what's the first workflow or process you recommend teams evaluate if they want to reclaim time quickly? Want to retain or climb? Okay. I would have to say probably the biggest impact comes from looking at the workflows where the most people touch the same asset. Across all the organizations that we've surveyed, there's almost always brand requests, approvals, and video workflows. And these are the areas where tasks bounce between teams. Like versions can get lost, delays stack up, and then no one really notices. And before you know it, you're down a week and nothing's been done. So when teams centralize these workflows in the DAM with automated versioning, you've got your AI metadata, you got your structured approvals and integrated editing tools. They're immediately eliminating the redundant work. That's how teams are getting, like what I mentioned earlier, like 11 hours per week back on their brand initiatives. You got 15 hours back from approvals, or some teams are even getting up to 40 hours a month back from just not having to deal with all the video crap that they don't want to deal with. If you focus on the workflows with the most handoffs, I think that's where you're going to see the most measurable time return. Um, I don't think we have anything else in the chat. No. Anyway, folks, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope this was a valuable session. This will be Media Valley's final session of 2026. And yeah, I hope, or 2025, sorry. And I do hope to see you all 2026 for some more webinars, more content. Yeah, have a great day.